Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today we are solving Leetcode problem number 209, that is minimum size subarray sum. So basically what is given in this question is we have an integer array called nums and we have an integer called target. So basically what we have to do in this question is we have to find a subarray whose sum is going to be greater than equals to target. So first of all we need to know what is subarray, right? So a subarray is a contiguous non-empty sequence of element within an array. So let me explain you in more detail. For example, if I'm going to take it like 2 3, so 2 3 is a subarray, right? If I'm going to take like 1 2 is a subarray, right? So I couldn't take like 2 and 1, right? So these are not subarray. So, okay, for example 2 and 3, 2 and 3 is not subarray. If I'm going to take 2 4 3, so it is a subarray, right? So this is what subarray is. And also we have to find the and also the length of our subarray is going to be minimum, right? So minimum length we want, right? So yes, we have to find a subarray whose sum is going to be greater than equals to target and their length is going to be minimum, right? We want a minimum length. So let's see the intuition. So what we have to do in this question is we know that we have to solve this question by sliding window, right? So how we're going to apply a sliding window in this question. So I just wanted to tell you like what actually I'm going to do in this question is I'm going to take a window, right, like this. Initially I'm going to start from here. I'm going to take one element in it, and now what I'm going to do, I'm going to compare the sum of my sub array, or you can say the sliding window or the window whose sum is going to be greater than equals to 7. I'm going to check that whose sum is whether their sum is going to be greater than equals to 7 or not. So in this question, in this case, the sliding window is pointing to, right, whose yes, it is going to be less than 7. So if the sum of sub array is going to be less than target value, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to increment my window by 1, right? I'm going to increment our window by 1, and I'm going to do the sum of these elements again, or you can say the sum of subarray. I'm going to check it again that whether it is going to be greater than equals to target or not. So in this case it is 5, right? If I'm going to calculate 2 plus 3 is going to be 5, which is definitely not going to be greater than equals to 7, right? So yes, it is less than 7, so I'm going to increment my sliding window one more time, and then I'm going to check it again. I'm going to do the sum of these subarray, like 2 3, which is going to be 5 plus 1 is 6. Again it is going to be less than 7, right? So if it is less than 7, so I'm going to again increment my sliding window by 1, and I'm going to check it again, like 2 then 3 plus equals to 5 plus 1 is 6 7 8, right? So now in this case the sum of subarray is going to be greater than 7, and we want that, right, which is greater than 7. So what we're going to do, I'm going to take a variable called a mini. What I'm going to do, I'm going to update it the length of our window, right, which is 4. So I'm going to update it to 4. Actually this mini calculates the minimum length of subarray, right? So it's calculate minimum length of subarray. So now the sum of this subarray is greater than 7, right? So if it is greater than 7, and we know that we want the length of subarray is minimum, right? We want length of subarray minimum. So what we do next, because we want minimum, so what we're going to do, we're going to shrink our sliding window by 1, right? I'm going to decrement our sliding window by 1. All right, and now I'm going to calculate it, the sum again, which is going to be 3 plus 1 is 4 5 6, right? And now if I'm going to calculate the sum of my sliding window, which is going to be 6, which is going to be less than my target. So if it is less than target, so now I'm going to again increment my sliding window by 1, right? And now I'm going to calculate it again, like 4 5 6 7 8 9 10, right? And now in this situation, in this case, my the sum of subarray is going to be 10, right, which is greater than 7. And if it is greater than 7, now what we're going to do, we're going to update our min value, which is 4, which is going to be length of our subarray, right, which is going to be 4 in this case, and already been updated to 4, right? So we're not going to do anything. right? Because we know that the sliding window, the sum of this subarray is going to be 10, which is going to be greater than 7. So in this case, what we're going to do, we're going to decrement our subarray by 1. So basically what we are doing in this question is we're going to calculate the sliding window, right? And if the sum of our subarray, right, if the sum of our subarray is going to be greater than 7, so in this case we're going to update our min value, and then what we're going to do, we're going to shrink our window by 1, or you can say decrementing our sliding window by 1 on left hand side, from left hand side, right? And if our you can say the sub array sub if our the sum of sub array is going to be less than 7, right? So in that case, what we're going to do, we're going to increment, or you can say increasing, we are increasing the length of our sliding window by 1. So this is what we are doing in this question, right? So let's take an example and understand in more detail. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to take you can say current sum. I'm going to take it a variable where I'm going to calculate the sum, right? I'm going to take it current sum, right? And also I'm going to take min, right? I'm going to take a mini, where I'm going to store the minimum length of our subarray, right? So also I'm going to take 2 pointers, right, which is going to be our left or right. Right, initially both are pointing to index 0, right? Means we have a sliding window whose length gonna be 1. Okay, now we're going to compare it with target, right? Initially the sum of subarray is 2, right, and our target is 7, right? So I'm going to do the current sum is going to be 2, and which is, now I'm going to compare our current sum with target. So current sum is 2 and target is 7, right? And 2 is obviously less than 7. So if it is less than 7, so what I have told you earlier, that if it is less than target, so what we have to do, we have to increment our window by 1, right? So let's do this. I'm going to move my right pointer ahead by 1. Now what we're going to do, we're going to calculate the sum of our subarray, which is going to be 3 plus 2 is going to be 5, right? So let's do this. Current sum is going to be 5, and now we're going to calculate that 5, which is going to be less than 7. Yes, now it is again less than 7, so we're going to increment our sliding window by 1. So let's do this. We're going to increment the sliding window by 1, and let's calculate the sum of it. So which is going to be 5 plus 1 is going to be 6. Now again it is less than 7, right? If it is less than 7, or you can say target value, then in that case what we have to do, we're going to have to increment our sliding window by 1. Now let's calculate it again. 6 7 8, right? Now current sum is equals to 8, which is greater than 7, right? Which is greater than 7. So now in this case what we have to do, we have to calculate the minimum length, right? We have to calculate the minimum length. Initially minimum length is infinity, right? So now in this case, what is the minimum length? Which is going to be 4, right? And we can calculate the minimum length by formula. We have one formula that is called r left minus, sorry, right minus left plus 1. This is how we're going to calculate the minimum length of our subarray, right? So now after calculating the minimum length, we know that our current sum is greater than 7, right? So what we're going to do, we're going to decrement our sliding window by 1. And why we are doing so, why we are decrementing our sliding window by 1, right? So because we are decrementing it by 1, or you can say because we want minimum length, of our subarray, right? There could be some case, right, where you're gonna find subarray, or you can say subarray whose sum is going to be greater than 7 and whose length is going to be minimum, right? So that is why I'm going to decrement our sliding window by 1, right? Because we want minimum length, there is some case, like if I'm going to calculate the sum, for example, if I'm going to calculate the sum whose sum is going to be greater than 7, so why would I return 4, right? I'm going to return 3, right? In that case I'm going to return 3, because we want minimum length, right? So that is why we are going to shrink our you can say window length, right? So that is why I'm doing. So in this case, if I'm going to calculate, so that is going to be 3 plus 1 is 4 5 6, right? So my current sum is going to be 6, and now which is going to be less than target. So if it is less than target, so in that case what we have to do, we have to increment our sliding window by 1, right? So I'm going to increment my sliding window by 1, right? So now we're going to calculate it again. That is 3 plus 1, which is going to be 4 5 6, and then 6 7, 8, 9, 10, right? So so now the value, the current sum is going to be 10, right, which is going to be greater than 7, right? So if it is greater than 7, so what we have to do, we have to calculate our min, which is going to be the minimum length of our subarray, right? So min is already been updated to 4, so we don't have to do it, right, anything, because the length of our subarray is 4 and min is already been updated to 4, so we don't have to do it anything. The thing that we have to do is to decrement the length of our nums, right? Or you can say, sorry, sliding window, right? So what I'm going to do, I'm going to decrement the sliding length of our sliding window. If in case if I want to find the sum whose sum is going to be greater than equals to target and their length is going to be minimum, so that is why I'm going to decrement it by decrement our you can say sliding window by 1, right? So let's do it again. So now I'm going to calculate the sum, that is going to be 4, 5, 6, 7, right? Look, I get 7, I get 7, right? I get 7 which is going to be equals to target. So in that case, what we are going to do, we're going to calculate our min, min which is going to be min length, right, which is going to be 3 in this case. And also what we are going to do, we're going to decrement our sliding window by 1. Let's do it again. Let's gonna calculate it again. That is going to be 4, 5, 6, right? With 6, which is going to be less than our target, right? Nothing we have to do. What we have to do, actually what we have to do is to just increment our sliding window by 1. Let's calculate it again. So 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, right? So our current sum is going to be 9, which is greater than 7, right? Which is greater than 7. So what we have to do, we have to calculate min. So min is already been updated to 3, so nothing we have to do. What we have to do is actually we have to decrement our sliding window by 1. Okay, so I'm going to decrement it by 1, and let's calculate it again. That is going to be 4 plus 3 is 7, right? So I get current sum is equals to 7, right, which is equals to target, right? So in that case, what we have to do, we have to calculate the minimum length, which is going to be 2, right? So I'm going to update it to 2, and what we have to do, we have to decrement our sliding window by 1, right? So I'm going to move it this left to this position, and now let's calculate it again, which is going to be 3, right? And 3 is going to be less than 7, right? So nothing we have to do. So here we come to know, here we get the minimum length. Here we get the minimum length of subarray whose sum is going to be greater than or equals to target. So this is what the minimum length of subarray we get, and this is how we get. So I hope you understand it, right? So I'm going to explain you one more time that what we are actually doing in this case is we are taking sliding window, right, and we're going to calculate sum, and whose if whose sum is going to be greater than a target, right? So in that case, what we are doing, we are calculating the length of we are calculating the minimum length of our subarray, right? And then what we are doing, we are shrinking our window by 1. And if in case if sum of, or you can say total or sum is going to be less than target, so in that case what we are doing, we are increment our sliding window by 1, right? So this is what we are doing, right? So I hope you understand it. So let's see the coding part. So let's do it. So initially what we are doing, we are taking pointers, right? So I'm going to take left, which is initially 0, and then I'm going to take current sum, right? Initially it is 0, and I'm going to take it mini, which is going to be float of infinity, right? Initially I'm taking infinity because because mini is going to calculate the minimum length, right? We want minimum length. And now what I'm going to do, I'm going to take my right pointer for RHHT, right, in range len of nums. And now we're going to calculate again and again what current sum, right? So I'm going to calculate current sum, which is going to be plus equals to nums of right, nums of right. And then what I'm going to do, if in case if our you can say sum is going to be greater than target, right? If in case, so if nums of, you can say until and until my nums of right, you can say greater than equals to target, okay, greater than equals to target. So in that case what we are going to do, we're going to calculate mini equals to min of our previous value, that is going to be mini, and then I'm going to calculate the length, that is going to be right, minus left, okay, plus 1. And right, I'm gonna give it here comma, okay, yes, mini equals to this. And then what we're going to do, we're going to decrement our current sum, right? So current sum minus equals to nums of left, right? And then what we're going to do, left plus equals to 1. And at the end we're going to return yes, return 0 if mini equals to well, float of infinity, right? Yes, else we're gonna return mini, right? So yes, let's submit this, sorry, run this code. Yeah, I think I have to do it here, right? Until my current sum is greater than target, then I have to calculate it. Yes, yes, we have to check current sum is greater than equals to target, then only we have to do it, right? Okay, now let's submit this. And here we go, here it is submitted.